Morning, morning. Thanks. So what we have here is someone looking at the 4 hour um, trade last night on the euro, and looks like he got into the trade and was then taken out or stopped out a bit later. Um, I would suggest that that's a little aggressive entry going in underneath this bar, underneath that bar there. Quite literally, should have waited for this bar to finish and looked at going in under that one. We then get this other sort of, it's a higher high and a higher low, but closed sort of in the middle, so it's not really convincing. We then get another lower low, a lower high. Again, it's not really full of selling pressure, but you would have looked at potentially going in underneath that one as well. Um, and then perhaps you would not have been taken in. So this little was quite a aggressive entry coming in here. Um, and I suppose you only risked a small amount, so that's not the end of the world. Um, I'm not sure what this is. Obviously, when you're looking at this, the daily, we should be making sure that the daily is. You would have seen that there was divergence here. Not that divergence is mean it's guaranteed to do a phase two, but it's an indication that a phase two is coming. So the potential for a 4 hour trade or an hourly trade in that sense is reduced. It's bars like that that you would look at where there's still downside or potential downside in the momentum, and that with still no divergence at that point of the market. So well, there is divergence there, but you want divergence underneath in the exhaustion period or place under being under 20. So that would have also said, well, hey, this is quite a risky trade. Not to be, you know, I don't want to sort of talk you out of those trades because there's. I looked at it too and was wanting to take that trade. Um, in fact, I took I think I took the Aussie on it in a similar situation. Um, we can clearly see the divergence there, and the Aussie here, and went in with a little more aggressive entry. Had I been a little more patient and waited for this bar to finish, then obviously that wouldn't have taken us out. So it's just need to always be reminded of seeing what's going on in the longer time frame, and then also being a little more patient in terms of waiting for that second bar. Okay. Obviously fooled thinking it would bounce off the 50 EMA. Um, well, it's not the 50 EMA that you really want to be focusing on. It's more the horizontal level, which is across here around the sort of 2650 area. Yeah. Okay, but that's all your analysis was sound there. It's just need to be a little more careful with seeing what's going on in the longer time frame. Next one we're looking at is the pound, also a 4 hour trade, similar. You need to be, your fibs are really odd. I'm not sure what this one is. Don't know what the hell that is. Again, had you been a little more patient, and I put a trade call out on that yesterday as a pivot trade, but need to see more than just one bar of selling. Pink was placed after trade stopped out. Okay, just to show you the 4 hour the way to draw the fibs is be looking from one of the see where it's this horizontal level here, how it's broken through that. So I'd be looking at the selling that started there, and putting my fib on around that high there, and to that low, and we can see that the 50 was offering resistance when you were looking at it, and it still kind of is. So, and it even tested the 61. So it's something I might look at now, even though the daily, there's no divergence. So we don't have any divergence yet on the daily. So what we could be seeing here is push back down to make a lower low, and then perhaps seeing divergence. But there's no divergence there, and there's still room to sell this to the downside. So it's something that I'd be looking at now, but we need to obviously see what we see is a high test bar here. Well, this is a reversal bar in the direction. This is a reversal bar in the direction, but they're both full of buying. Then we see a high test bar, and then it's an inside sort of nothing real bar. And this current 4-hour bar, we want to see it as a lower low, and we want to see selling it. So we don't want to see it as a buyer bar. We want to see it as a seller, and if ideally as a bearish bar, and then we could be looking at it. And that's what is that? In a half an hour's time, that bar will be finished, and so that's potential there. Yeah. And that's a reasonable level. We can see that it's the high there, the low there, a couple of lows here. Yes, it didn't exactly get to it. What is it? 166, 6160. We got sort of more testing the 61.8 there. Yep. So attached this one, all the information is on the snapshot. Yeah, and you're a little confused about your fibs as to why you're drawing them. In purple was our placement, and in pink after the stop. Well, yeah, see, I would have gone not from the opening price, I would have gone from this high here. We effectively got your trend line, and that's the fib I would have had, and we can see that it would have reacted to the 50. This purple one, I have no idea why that's there, but everything else is there. Covering, converging, yeah, you've got everything else there, which is good. In hindsight, we may have slightly misplaced the Fibonacci. Was our analysis correct or incorrect? Yeah, look, it's, as I said, it's your analysis. Apart from your fibs, your analysis is fine. I think you're just going in a little too early. You need to see that selling, as I mentioned. Okay. Otherwise, it's all good. Okay. Bob, mate, you can go on a holiday. I don't mind. You're more than welcome to it. Have a good time. Your question about, I presume it's this box here. You say that the value of the horizontal lines on the right hand side of the chart, how can I get these back? Alright, if you can either, what you need to do is you can right click on the chart and go into objects list, and come in, highlight the horizontal line and edit. You can do it there, or you can double click on this, which makes that little box appear up on the right there, which means you can now move it. But you can also right click on your chart and go horizontal properties. Either way, you want to get to this, right? And if you see this draw object as background, if I have that ticked and go OK, that box has disappeared where the value is. Yeah. So once I've done that, every time I draw a horizontal line, it's not going to be there. Yeah. So if you need to draw one first. So right click, objects list, highlight it, edit, untick that box, OK, close, and now we've got it, and every time I draw one it will be there. I presume that's the one you're talking about, because this one should default to always being there. which is where the current price is. Okay. Interesting. I'll have to look at that and see how we go after the webinar. Alright. Got a few emails today, which is great. Love getting emails from you guys. Next one is... Oh no, next one's CAD Swiss, which must be this one here. CAD Swiss, higher highs and higher lows above the moving averages, EMA support, yeah, off this blue one, which is I think the 20, I can't really see that, but I think it's the 20. Bullish price action, can't really see it, but by the look of that last bar there, it's not very bullish. Trendline support, well no, you're miles away from it, and no resistance in the way. Well, no, but you don't. I don't see a support line there either. You say there's a horizontal support, but I don't see it. So you mentioned those things, but I'm not seeing the trend line support, not seeing the bullish price action. I'm not seeing horizontal support. But let's go and have a look at it. Excuse me. CAD Swiss, right? It was CAD Swiss, wasn't it? Yeah. Certainly isn't in a strong uptrend, making higher highs. As I said, I don't see trendline support. You could argue there is horizontal support off this level there. Yeah, those highs, but it's not really strong. If we come to the weekly, there's lows, highs. Yeah, I'd be more inclined to, and that's offering resistance. And it's not really strong support. Just a sec, guys. So I'm not seeing a really strong level of buying here. The trend line is, I don't think is really touching it. I mean, you could argue that that's the trend line, and this was a bit of a false break underneath it. But I think that's a weak argument. So whilst this is trending nicely, and it'd be good to be on it, I prefer to look at it in the shorter time frame until it's sort of got back to a decent support level, such as along here. If we go back down to this area here and we see some buying action, then then I would get interested. But this is certainly not buying. This is more of what you would. It's just choppy and frothy, and that's certainly bearish bar. And now we're seeing a buyer bar, but it's still a lower high, lower low at this stage. So not convincing, mate. I don't certainly wouldn't be putting a trade as you suggest today, tomorrow, because you sent me this morning. I wouldn't be putting a trade on it today or tomorrow at this point. And as I said, just with your analysis, and I've closed it, I didn't see that you had the horizontal support in there. Alright, so dollar CAD, 4-hour trade. Where are we? This is the, oh no, it's another one. Dollar CAD 4-hour. This one came into yesterday, was looking above this bar here as a 4-hour trade. That obviously didn't occur. Then it got another little swing and went above this bar here, and looking as a potential target at the 1.272 of this phase 2. That's a fair call. With the CAD itself, again, we need to look at the daily, and what we're seeing here is a little bit of divergence across here, and so that increases the risk on the trade. Obviously, you're still going with the sentiment. He's looking at buying this, yeah. Still going with the sentiment of the daily, which is fine. But I'll just highlight that there is an increased amount of risk when we're getting the divergence, because that would indicate that there's a pullback. Yeah, might be just this bar that was indicating, and this sort of bar inside here is an inside buy bar. Doesn't really give us much indication as to the direction. Is it going to continue long, or is it going to are we going into a phase two? So that increases the risk on the trade. Doesn't mean you can't take it. You just need to be aware of that and allocate your capital accordingly. And so it went in above this bar here, and obviously it was in the money a little bit with the. I'm not sure where was your stop on that. I think you had an ATR style stop, didn't you? Better risk reward and still a good setup. Fair enough. If I remember correctly, you had an ATR stop, so that's that's yours. Yeah, the CAD Swiss. Yeah, there's no horizontal there. There's not. If you know what I mean, you've written it out, but you haven't got it in there. And now what I was looking for is a stop. You might look to move your stop under here. You've got a bit of horizontal support there. If you had your stop originally down there, I don't think you did, but you know, I'd be having my stop in under here somewhere now. But that's good. Yeah, could well go in your favour. It's just you need to be aware of your capital allocation. Thanks for the feedback on the CAD Swiss. Appreciate it. No worries, mate. Okay. Next one you're looking at is the Swiss Sing. Certainly very strong trend. Swiss is, as we know, is highly correlated to the euro, and they're really struggling, and so Switzerland. It's kind of broken out of that trend for the first time in a while. I mean, I presume this is a channel, yeah. And so if this is the bottom of the channel, it's actually broken out of it. And we're getting to a minor amount of divergence there. And that's your just bang on the 2, your extension. What are you trying to do? Another 2 setups for your comments on my charts. I think it's right out. Yeah, that's that analysis. Okay, so you're wanting to go with the trend again. As I said, you need to be aware that you're at the end of this at this trend, and this could be a phase 2. It could be a phase 2 doing just this kind of crap before falling down, and I dare say your 4-hour trade may survive that. I mean, if you measure the previous phase 1s, it stands to reason that that we're there or close to it. In terms of, if you have a look at if we do that, it stopped at number 2 or 2.272. You do this one, it's stopped at the, where did it stop? Not quite the 2. So it's roughly, it's not an exact science. They're not always going to be the exact length, but 2.618. Which one have you got? You measured the same one, didn't you? Yeah, it's the same one. Oh, it is a 2.618. All right. Yeah, so that's, you just need to be aware of that. That there's obviously an increased risk that this could actually bounce. However, you've done the analysis there, and the 4-hour. with trend lines, this is what I don't understand. You start on the high here, but then you change it and go to the close on this one. If you're going to use the highs, then you should be linking the highs. If you're going to use the close, then link the closes. Otherwise, it's shifting a horse mid change. You're using different parameters to line that up, just to kind of try and fit the trade. This horizontal has certainly come back and tested these lows here, which is what we like to see. And we're now seeing that selling coming in. This is a low test bar. It's not really convincing. However, if it obviously makes a lower low, and you'll have an engulfing seller bar in the phase one, but at the bottom of the channel on RSI is 35. Alright. And this has come back to the 786 on that. Look, the setup, as I said, is all good. Just with the capital, I'll be a little concerned. Yeah, and so this bar, that bar that you looked at, when did you send this to me? Only today. Okay, this bar here ended up as a buying bar. And it would have actually probably got you into the trade and then turned around. Yeah, so that would have been a bummer. But this is, to me, when I'm trading, I want to see this bar here, not only a lower low bar. I don't prefer it not to be a buy bar. I prefer it to be a seller bar. And so that we're really seeing the sentiment shift into gear and go. One of the good trades I did last week was the Euro 4 hour. Here, we're seeing it wasn't off this bar, it was off this one. So we're now we've got that ring high, and we're full of selling. Yeah, a bit of a bugger all bar, and then she goes. Similarly here, we get this ring high, but it's all selling. Yeah, and we look at this, and then it's buying. So that's sort of a bit of a heads up, saying, well, hang on, there's still some buyers are still present here, and perhaps this is not going to work out for us. Yeah. So in terms of your Swiss Singy, that might have been a bit of a heads up, saying, well, no, I don't want buyers here, I want sellers. Does that make sense? Okay, then Euro. Yeah, very strong trend. I do see that 4.236, bloody hell. I do see the potential to come back up to all this mess here. There is divergence here from this low to what K2A call train tracks. But there's obviously, we need to see if there's a strong horizontal there, and there is one around the 125 level. And then this bar was, I think, was a stronger bar too, wasn't it? Higher high. Yeah. So we've got the divergence, and I just see there is potential that it could come to this sort of messy area here, and meet up with the 50. So it's around 129. Maybe. The US dollar is super strong at the moment, and it could be that is resistance, and that's it for this run. There's a bit of resistance there. There's more up here though. That's 127. Yeah. There is a bit of resistance there, as we can see. That's off the weekly. Yep. Lows. Yeah. Has broken through that. Momentum's way up here, so there might be an opportunity that this is the end of phase two. But just the last 2 days, there's been more buying than anything else, and so again, your capital allocation would be quite low on that. So with that in mind, you've got the daily there doing that 4 hour. Oh, this was yesterday. Was it 4 or 1? It was 4. It's back to the 786 again. We're seeing that low test bar. Had that been a seller bar, you more than likely would have carried on. Such as I've just gone over this before. You know, across here we're seeing all that selling. Then this one here off the 50, and that is full of selling there. So obviously hindsight is a lot easier to look at this. It's, as I said earlier, when you see the buying there, you go, well, hang on a sec. You shouldn't be going in under just the one bar. And then we see this bar and we go, well, hang on a sec, that's buying, not ideal. Obviously, when you're looking here and say, well, if it does make a lower low, then the sellers are there. But at that point in time, you probably go, well, let's just wait and see what happens. Better that. I know that means your stop's gone. Potentially, it could get down there, and you're now looking at a sort of 100 pip stop when before you're maybe looking at a 70 or 80 pip stop. It's better to be safer than getting stopped out. Yeah. You guys still there? I can see you there, but I can't tell if you're still connected. Does that make sense, chap? It is a probable trade coming in under here, but with the daily on divergence, with divergence there and buying after this strong bar here, yeah, that gets the 4 hour phase 2 sort of almost completed, but there's also the risk that this actually could pull back up, and therefore you're throwing 0.5% or more behind it is, I think, not a smart trade. It may be doing sort of even a quarter of what you normally would. Cool. Alright, now we've got some emails from yesterday. Hello. We've got some emails from yesterday. Again, this is the Euro 4 hour. Lower highs, resistance off the 50, 20, bearish price action, fib. Entered live at market off my phone. Okay. First time placed a trade, a phone at work, and now I should have, and I know I should have been a sell stop, but almost got stopped out straight away. Still in the trade. Retest for short trade. Look, if you've done this, all of this analysis before, trading off your phone, then before you went to work, that's okay. I can understand that. Trading off your phone at market is not ideal. I think it's kind of knee-jerk reacting. And as we've covered this one a couple of times today, so I don't need to go over it again, but it would have been ideal to go under that bar, maybe, but having seen the buying in it, you might go, well, let's just see, and then this one would have been probably a couple of hours later by the time you got home, and you go underneath that one, which doesn't trigger you in. Yeah, but trading off your phone carries a shitload of risk, and I wouldn't, getting your correct lot size is also tricky because you don't know your exact entry and stop price unless you've got access to your laptop in your office, which you don't. But trading off the phone, you can't get your correct lot size. I came close to taking that, but used the close below the 20 EMA rule that can help keep you out of the 4 hour. close below the 20 EMA. Okay, so close below the 20 EMA means you would have, this one here, you would have only got in there. They're all closed below the 20 EMA. Yep. Okay, interesting rule. If it works for you, that's fabulous. Go for it. I don't mind you having throwing other rules on board, such as close below the 20 EMA. That's great. If it keeps you from losing money, that's more the merrier. Okay, now this is the first time I've done the trading charts based on your seminar. I've tested charts which I've done analysis. Please give your comments in areas where I need to check further. Still a bit unsure as how to read the fib. Okay, well, let's look at snapshot 3. Pound CAD trend is upwards. Yeah, a little mini trend is, but you look at the larger picture, what we've got is sideways action, then a downtrend and a back up to the 50. I presume that's the 50, doesn't say there, but I presume that red's the 50. RSI is 14, that needs to be 6. Okay, change that to 6. So what I would suggest here is that this is a phase 2. Yeah. Your Fibonacci's, if you're measuring it for the cyclicity of the market, such as if you're wanting to look at something like this, and saying, see, we can see the cycles here. You can measure the fib for the cyclicity. Yeah, we can see that it bounced off the 50 there. And in this instance, I would measure it not from that, from the first close under the 50. So we'd look at that. The 50 is way back up here at 90. The 50 is not as strong as the 61.8, but I can't see the Aussie getting back up above 90. I can barely see it getting above 89, but that's another story. In terms of your pound CAD, your Fibonacci should be looking at it not from that, but from the first close with this selling pressure, right? So here we're seeing 786 is what stopped it, right? So excuse me, this is your cycle, your phase 1, your phase 2, and now we've got a new phase 1 coming into the market. So just looking at your chart, your fib's a little off, but that's all good. You need to get the 786 in there. You've got a strong horizontals there, a little bit out, but it's we're practicing here. Is we can see if you draw it across here, we've got 1, 2. There's a bit of mess there, but you got 2 there. Now you can move these things, and if you go up to here, if you come in this area there, you've got that bounced here, bounced there, fell underneath it, bounced again, sort of a bit of mess. So what you might suggest then is say, well, we've got a bit of a zone here of resistance, and you could even potentially sort of look at that there and say this is quite a bit of an area. Yeah, it's about 100 pips, but there's a fair bit of noise going on here in the market, either becoming support or resistance. So that's just coming back to yours. You've got that one should be a little higher. This one you've got, which is great. Yep. Reversal would take place and would increase to soft resistance at 80. If broken, would have hit 82. No, I'd be looking for this for short. This you just connected these 2 dots, right? And it needs to be reacting on the 3rd one. for you to warrant this sort of trend line. Yeah, so you should be looking at it saying, well, this is your cycle. Yeah, let's get rid of all of this. This is your phase one, this is your phase two. We're now in a new phase one, and there's a bit of FOMO trading happening. If you're looking at that, I mean, potentially you could say, you know, this, you know, somewhere around here, you're looking at a target of around 1.272, so there's plenty of room to go. You're not going to sell it now. This is a buyer bar, higher high, but depending on what this bar is, it's a friggin' noisy fucking bike. I think I might go and put a bit of wire across the road and take that thing out. Yeah, this needed. You wouldn't be selling now. You might have sold off the break of all these lows here, and this bearish lower high, lower low. You know, fundamentally, I don't like this. I think I prefer to be long pounds than long CAD, but technically this is set up for a bear trade. In the 4 hour, you might consider, yeah, potentially. I'm thinking getting back in after taking a daily and being stopped out for a small profit. What do you think of 4 hour short on current bar? Is that preempting too much? No. You know, just looking at it, is this buy bar here that we had yesterday gives us that 4 hour opportunity. We're still in that downtrend. There's still plenty of momentum to go. You know, you're looking at a potential target around here on the daily around 174, 173. You know, and there's plenty of room to go on the downside. You know, this phase one started in the ideal above the 50, so for all intents and purposes, you should have been in on this on the daily. I'm not sure why you got stopped out, perhaps by this bar after being 2 consecutive sellers. I don't know, but for all intents and purposes, you should be in this. With your 2 consecutive sellers, you know, I would have got my stop to break even, and now that that's the only time, really the only time I use that, and then I go off reversal bars. But is there an opportunity in the 4 hour? Well, there is on the pound itself. You know, we've just got that new bar there. It's a seller bar, and it's a lower high, lower low. So the 4 hour, and it's about to trigger you in, is a potential trade on the pound itself. And so this one here, which we've just got a new bar, is also, excuse me, a potential. So, you know, we look at, you know, I need to find a horizontal somewhere, but let's go back to the daily and see if we can find one. That's the horizontal's up there, really, isn't it? And there's a minor one which is about to break through here. Yep. So, you know, we're now underneath that with the lower high, lower low. I'll draw a Fibonacci on this. You know, that's your, even if you come from this one here, it's the 786, but quite literally I would move it to that one. There's the first close under the 50. There's your phase one. Phase two, back to the 61, back to the 50 EMA. You've got a lower high, lower low, seller bar. Look at that as getting in underneath that today. Yeah. You moved because of the CAD news. Okay, fair enough. Building permits last night. I haven't even seen that. Was a good figure? I forgot to look at the CAD. Housing starts. That's tonight. Building permits. Oh shit. That's not that crash hot, is it? 27 negative. Ooh. Well, that's the CADs. They were doing good data. They're turning the corner into worse, or for the worse. Anyway, so that's your first one. That's a reasonable start at things. This one, CAD Swiss. I sort of covered this. Yeah, it's in an uptrend. It's looking a bit messy. This bar ended up being bearish, so you walk away from it. there's, as I mentioned before, there's no real support until we get down to these sort of highs here. Your Fibonacci, you started there. I don't know where your zero is. If I can see that there, that makes no sense to me. Yeah, with your fibs on the CADs with, I still got it. Cool. You know, that's your phase one. You need to. You can see it's currently stopping on the 382, but the 618 is down here. Yeah. So leave that one alone, as we've discussed. And the fib, I'm not sure where that is or why that is. This, yeah, it is a bit of a trend line support, but you, again, your price is not near it. Okay. Wait for the 7th or 10th price bar, then decide. Good. And you would have decided not to take it. Therese from K2A. I don't know who Therese is, but all well and good. All right, your next one, downward trend. This is a phase two, mate. We can see the cyclicity here. When price is coming back to the moving average, that's phase two. Yeah. Yes, it's a downtrend. Quite correct. Yes, you're quite correct. It is a downtrend, but it's just a correction of pullback. This is a cycle above it, so you should be setting this up for a new phase one. And I know some of the guys have been looking at that. Sorry, the security dogs are just going nuts. Yeah, we're now back to the 50. Just a sec. Yeah, so we're getting back to, you know, there's a minor support off these lows here. Minor support off those lows there. If we look back in time, is that a... Yeah, it's not a strong one, but it's a minor one. Then you're looking at, you know, this is the first close above the 50, really. And we're now reversing back off that, the 50 fib. There was a potential coming above this bar here. Obviously that didn't trigger us in. We've now got this inside buyer bar. We need to see another one in tomorrow, so there may be a trade there on Friday. And again, you know, you're trading from a better position in terms of your momentum from bringing it down towards this side. Yeah. So yes, this is a downtrend. That is correct, but it's a phase two. Remember your cyclicity. Yeah. What's coming when price moves back towards the EMA? That's a phase two. When it's moving away from the EMA, that's a phase one. So in terms of the cyclicity of the market, the first question is, are we getting higher highs and higher lows, which I don't even see in there. You know, it's not phase one down. This is phase two down. Okay. Next one, uptrend, phase one. Yep. Well, certainly there's an uptrend there. What is this? Euro Kiwi. Oh, mate, this is just choppy as shit. You don't want to touch this one. I mean, quite literally. Come and have a look at the weekly. That's just so much crap going on. resistance there. It's 70. Support here, but then support right there, support resistance. And now we've got more horizontal lines than to poke a stick at. Yet the weekly is trending up, and granted, there is, we have a little cycle here. We now have a bigger cycle, and there is some buying coming in here. But look at where we're buying at. Compare that to the CAD yen, which is, we're looking at buying it down here in the momentum. And the Euro Kiwi, you're up here. With all this, it's just a real messy sort of chart. I just don't see the opportunity there. But your fib, I can't see it properly. I can't see where you started it, but if you want me to draw a fib on this, the way I would be doing it is saying, well, here's my previous cycle. Yeah, there's phase 1, phase 2, back to the 61.8, and now we're looking at a new trend up. There is some sort of minor support level around. No, I don't see any sort of real support level. A very weak one across here. We can see some highs and lows which have bounced off. But you're going across this one here that I've identified at 62, basically 62.20. It's a lower probability trade with your momentum here. It's not something I'd advocate or put money on, but it's, you're looking at it and wait for the price action to complete and then decide. Price had to hit the resistance, then it might go into phase 2. Well, this is phase 2. Yeah. Remember, price going back to the 50 MA is phase 1. This is phase 2, and there's this potential that it could still be doing phase 2. Yeah. Wish this choppy shit, then it's more than likely it will. Okay. Downward trend, phase 1. Well, quite literally, yes you are. These yellow arrows are no use to anyone. Get rid of them. They don't mean anything. I don't know where your Fibonacci's. I can see the 1, I can't see the 0. So I don't know where you're finishing your fib, but I don't know why that's there. That doesn't make any sense to me. 50 fib. Again, that doesn't make sense. I know you said you're not sure where they're at, but in terms of the cyclicity, like this, so here's our cycle. We want the price bouncing off it. With the CAD yen, here's our cycle, and we want price bouncing off it. And you can see I started it here and finished it there. So that's my phase 1. Phase 2 comes back and should bounce off the 50 or the 61.8. What you've drawn here is, I don't know where that is, where it's finishing, but price will go down to hit support. What is this? The Swiss yen. Again, this is a bit of a choppy mess. It is in phase 1 underneath the 50 EMA, so it's potentially sort of towards the end of it. RSI again is 14, change it to 6. But there's a bit of a support line there that price is reacting to. This is phase 1 under the 50 EMA, and to me, it's tried to cycle above it, didn't hang on to it. It's now underneath it. We're at the oversold mark, so this potentially could go up, and therefore you're probably looking more at something like a range than a trend. When it chops either side of the moving average, we're oversold now. That's potential more of a range trade than anything else. So again, just looking at the price action in the larger picture, technically it is phase 1 underneath it, but it's more just quite messy. and that's the same thing, just a repeat. Okay, were you online? I don't know, can't see if you're online. So to the pound Aussie, let's come back to the support line. Show long checklist, show short term spread 2, waiting for bullish price action to go long phase 1. Fibonacci's from here to here. Let's come back to the 50. Momentum's in the right area. I am bullish the pound, but the mongrel just won't run. Everybody keeps wanting to sell it, and so with the Aussie a little bit stronger, I'd say this bullish price action we haven't seen yet. It's getting close to the 61.8, but it's underneath that strong support line here, 180 sort of area. So yeah, it's a matter of waiting for that strong action. If you've got a zone here, and I dare say that you just start the fib of the right area. So yeah, in between the 50 and the 61.8, which is we're getting close to now. So just need to see price action bounce off that. So that's good. And what do we got here? Swiss or CAD yen. Yeah, we've sort of gone through this. Well, I have already. That's all right. This is good analysis, but obviously we've fallen back down to this area here. Or actually, we got back down to the 50, didn't we? So you would not have got into the trade, and need to redo your analysis, but it's should be looking okay for a potential trade on Friday. And another CAD yen one. Check this. Entry 97.86. Oh, did you get in? Did you get in too early? 97.86. Oh, you didn't. Good. Okay. The joys of being patient. Checklist. Yep. Hidden divergence. It's bullish. Yep. Hidden divergence. Is that still there? Yep. Yeah, that's hidden divergence across there. It's a nice pullback to the 50 EMA, and this, it's not really strong horizontal. The stronger one is a little bit lower, but as I said, I wouldn't go in above this bar tomorrow. I'd wait for Thursday's bar and then look at it on Friday. And it could easily come back. I mean, look at where the 61.8 is. That high there, it could easily come back down to that before we start getting buyers. Yep. So just be patient. It will happen, or it should set up. Just got to be patient and see that buying intention. Euro Kiwi, I'll cover this one too. Don't like it, stay away from it. It's just messing a crappy fib retracement support 61.8. Okay, soft support, that's well identified. Strong resistance, or if you can get above that, that's possibly a good thing. But it's just messy. I really don't like trading it. And ladies and gentlemen, that's us for today. What have we got this week is tomorrow night is Bank of England's. I've got unemployment data out of Aussie, Bank of England discussing rates, Canadian unemployment, and Muppet number one talking. So a little bit of volatility around the pound potentially, and so those pound setups that you're looking at, treat with caution. Otherwise, you guys have a good couple of days, and I'll chat to you on Friday.